All right. Hello and welcome to the episode. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I'm the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And in this episode, I want to talk about, moving into 2023 and just the reality of embracing each season that this next year and that life brings to us. And I want to talk about what that means. Real quick, if you're looking for help for OCD and anxiety, and you're really looking at making significant change and really breaking out of that loop, we have two links down in the notes. One's a free guide, and one's an intensive 2-day workshop, and they're both a great starting places for really understanding the loop, understanding what it means to break out, how to do that, starting to implement the AAA response. And it gives you the opportunity to really kind of understand it from a very high level. And then also, my book is going to be coming out here in the next few weeks. And so please check if you're not on our email list, please join it. And also I'll be posting up some episodes probably when I release it here, just to let you know. So let's talk about, also, if you could help us out by liking and subscribing, as well as leaving a comment or review on iTunes, it would be really helpful. So let's talk about, as we move into 2023, what it means to embrace the seasons of life. And, because a lot of times this time of year, there's this pressure, this external kind of social pressure to like, hey, the New Year's happening, Christmas, holidays, right? All that stuff. And a lot of times, you're not always feeling 100%. And then there's this pressure to feel that. And when we don't feel that way, we create resistance to what we currently feel, which then creates more kind of chaos. And, one practice that I do, and that's not something that you need to do or even should do. Maybe, if it feels right for you, sure, go ahead. But this is something I learned from John Eldridge, who, is the founder of Wild at Heart. And they run a podcast that I'm a very frequent listener to. And he talks about, he talked about this idea once of like kind of listening for a word for the year, or, praying and kind of asking for a word for the year. And this is something that I'll do, and I don't even know that it needs to be like the whole year, just kind of like more like whatever season that you're in life. And you can kind of do this in quarters. And I know we love to pretend that the like life works in these numerical sequences, like, oh, this quarter or this season and this season, winter, fall, whatever. But it's like, our seasons in life don't work with the calendar year. It doesn't happen like that because we don't plan them out. They kind of just are coming as they come. And it may be a month, it may be 6 weeks, it may be 14 days or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Like there's going to be these seasons that we have in life, and they don't correspond to the calendar, right? But it's a good analogy. So just like the year, though, the year changes, right? We have our winter, right? We have some pretty crazy storms at the time of this recording in the East Coast, anyway. That I'm reading about, and then you have, right, springtime, summer, fall, and then winter, right? And it kind of works in this cycle. And life will work in not these similar cycles, but really it will work in seasons. And what that means is that and what you can't do is you can't go against the season. You can't fight the season, right? It would be like it's when it's snowing and raining and you just being upset the whole time that it's snowing and raining. When you actually learn to embrace what the season is, and really embrace for what it is, and not trying to, again, fight against. So fighting against the season is like if you like to ride bicycles and it's winter and it's snowing and you're like, I'm going to go ride the bicycle anyway. And you make it harder than it needs to be. It's like, that's not embracing the season, right? You're trying to force your will on the season, and it doesn't work. In the same way with life. A lot of times we try to force our way through life. And when you start to feel resistance and turmoil and challenge in life, it's a good indicator. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it's a good indicator that you may be trying to force your will upon a season in life that you're not really in. So I'll give you an example. Just to draw from personal experience. So last year around this time, I was kind of just doing some prayer and meditation, and I was just kind of like, just sitting, and usually I'll go to kind of a nature place when I do these things as far as planning for the year, or really kind of trying to see and get into, like, a very serious state. I try to seclude myself completely, no distractions, no phone, just like just as still as I can become, which is challenging. It's very challenging, you know, and so it's not like in my living room and things like that, because I really want to have this dedicated time of stillness. And you know what happened is that I kept just like asking for this word for the year, or the word for like this upcoming season of my life. And I had set all these goals, total ego goals, right? But I was just like, I'm going to release the book, and because I was intending, or I was planning on initially, having the book released in 2022, right? And so I'd had it outlined, and we had the first draft early this year, and I just kept hearing the word. And again, I heard it not in my mind, but like intuitively, kind of in my heart, if you will. And it just kept like patience, and like that was the word for this season that was coming up. And I was like, I don't really know what patience, and it didn't make sense to me. So lo and behold, in January, or like right at the end of December last year, I'd gotten COVID, and then I was fine for the COVID experience, and then like 2-3 weeks later, I started having these kind of post-viral symptoms, chronic fatigue, and just headaches, and just all this crazy stuff, and this went on for several months. And that was, and again, I had to kind of like take back off work. I had to like, really reel myself back and focus on just like, healing myself, and focus on recovery, and focus on taking care of myself. And to be transparent, that is something that I hadn't done for a long time in my life. I had just lived with like burning the candles at both ends, pushing harder, grind. I totally bought into that motto of like just grind harder, and I was operating in ways that were unsustainable. And then, it caught up with me, transparently. It just did. And what I had to learn was patience, was to slow down, and that was a challenging thing. But that was a learning that I had this past year. And you know what, it corresponded exactly, and that was the season of of life that I was in. And instead of fighting it and resenting it and saying, well, this shouldn't be like this, it's like, okay, no, like there's something that I need to take away from this experience here, and I trust that. Now, again, you may not agree with what I'm saying here, and that's okay. This may not be for you. This might be some of the stuff that is a little bit on the fringe of where you're like, I don't really know about this. It's supposed to be OCD and anxiety. And yes, and I totally believe this is all correlated, right? But, if it's not connecting with you, don't worry about it. We'll jump into talking about more, just practical stuff at the first of the year. But these are things that I do. And again, I'm just going to be transparent about it, right? It's like there's, I don't know a better way to do it, and I'm one thing I won't do on the show or the platform is try to pretend that I'm trying to pretend to be something I'm not, right? And so this year, right, like did the same thing, was sat, kind of meditated in it. And I don't share, the, things like, especially for the upcoming, things that I feel or hear or whatever, for like the upcoming year. And so, but something I would encourage you, or for the next season of my life, something I would encourage you to do is to try to do that, is to get into a place of stillness, to get in a place of, isolation, and really just sit and be, and kind of ask about, whatever you ask to, whether it's God or the universe or source, or however you articulate this, that whatever it is that's bigger than you. Ask about what season you're in, what season's coming, if there's any particular word for the next season in your life, and then what that really means to embrace that. And again, it's not about like good or bad or anything like that. It's just that seasons come in life. And what I've learned is the quicker we learn to embrace the season for what it is, and the less we fight against the season, then that's the point of it. Like then we actually get what we need from that season, and then it transitions. The longer we resist it, the more it persists. So like here's another instance. It's like, as we were moving towards the end of the year, right? This year, I just was kind of like, you know, I I just felt this internal instinct that I needed to just slow down, because once I started feeling better and I kind of got felt healthy again, and I was feeling like myself again, I was working out and all this stuff. Um, I started to see myself get back into that burn both candles at both end, burn the candle at both ends mode, just a little bit, where I was working on the weekends, I wasn't taking time off, I wasn't present, things like that. It's just the little things that start, right? Hopping on your phone right away, or being on the phone when my wife is trying to talk to me, or my daughter needs something. It's like, and I had to slow down. And one of the things moving into the last kind of section of this year was I just, again, the word slow down. I guess 2 words, right? That phrase, slow down, slow down, slow down. And again, oftentimes these go against the societal norms and expectations. But when you really pay attention to your intuition, for some reason, like I've found that it knows what you need. It knows what you need to do. At a deep level what you need in your life, right? And when we can start to embrace those seasons, what happens is we gain from the season what we're supposed to gain, and then we're able to move into the next one, and it happens very seamlessly, and you stop fighting with life. What most people don't realize is it's not life itself that's challenging. It's us trying to impose our will on life of the way we think it should be that makes it challenging. And oftentimes the way we think it should be is completely ego driven. Has nothing to do with our intuition. When you can start to line up your intuition with life, though, a little bit, and really get in tune, right? And again, trusting something beyond yourself, I think it's the biggest thing. That's what I was talking about with setting intentions. That's why I thought that was so important in the last episode. That's why I wanted to do a little 2-part here, is because setting clear intentions is the first thing, of setting clear intentions of what you want in life. But then the thing is, you got to let go of you thinking that the best way for that to happen. Because oftentimes these doors will just open up that you could never have planned. You never could have thought of. Your mind could have never conceptualized, and they're the easiest and best path to exactly what you want. And, sitting in kind of like, what's the word for this season? What do I need to learn this season? Like these kind of questions, like what season am I in? Even getting clear on that for yourself and sitting with that. And I mean, just sitting with it and going and sitting in some stillness. My gosh, that is like, it's just so important. And I have some certain spots that I like to go do that. But I mean, really go sit in stillness and do this. Ask, like, hey, like go inside here into your heart and kind of like, hey, what season am I in? Is there any kind of word or anything I need to pay attention to for this season to come? Right. And kind of putting those questions out there, and there is a higher source that will guide you into this. I believe that. I fully believe it. And I've experienced it, several times. And so, yeah, it's just kind of what I wanted to share here as we move into 2023. And again, as opposed to trying to assert your will, it's okay to set your intentions of the outcomes you want. I believe that's what we're supposed to do, right? Is set intentions and state our desired outcomes of what we want in our life. And it's not our job to figure out how to bring that in, but it's also our job to, again, embrace the season and not try to set a timetable of like, I need it to happen right now. is to kind of say, okay, like there's a season of life that we're in, there's a season of life we're going into, and your ability to recognize it and embrace it and do what you need to do to embrace that season, whether that means slow down, whether that means, we need to push hard during this time, whether that means we need to kind of, reassess the plan, whatever it is like you have to be willing to embrace that season. And again, like it's just like with business, right? There are these seasons, there's ebbs and flows, you know, and and not getting in the fear mind and not getting into the idea of like I need to make this a certain way or force your will upon it. Letting go of that, letting go of that, and that's scary, I know, but these are things that I do that I've noticed make significant changes in my life. And especially as we move into a new year, it's a good place, not because the season starts on January 1st, it doesn't. It's just a good place for us to stop, to slow down, right? Especially this week, like, for a lot of us, this week is slower between Christmas and New Year's. And this is a perfect time for us to step back and say, hey, let me kind of like slow down for a second. Let me get into some stillness and let me see what it means to really, again, go into not only setting clear intentions for what I want, but also what it means of like, what season am I in? What season am I going into? I mean, sometimes, if you're about to have a baby, right? You're going to be going into a certain season in life. You're about to get married. You're about to change jobs, whatever it is like that. Those seasons are going to happen. Sometimes we can see them, sometimes we can't, but if you get still enough, instead of trying to just force your will upon life, and you get still enough to kind of ask and sit with these questions, I think you'll get some clarity. At least in my experience, that's how it's been. And if you do, yeah, please share it with me. I always love to hear from people. So if you feel inspired, you're doing some of these exercises and you feel like sharing with me, please, email them at support@restoredminds. Love to hear from you guys. And so support@restoredminds.com. I'm sorry. So with that said, just want to wish you all again a good new year, right? And a great 2023. Again, we have some things coming up in 2023 that we're going to try to bring that I think are really going to be helpful for, the listeners of this show. Whether it's the book, some different workshops we're looking to put together, potentially thinking about some kind of like live virtual event, and some other things. So these are things that we have kind of coming, that we're kind of brainstorming and setting out there. But anyways, just wanted to share that. And I know this is a little different than what we usually do here, but I wanted to kind of just talk about this stuff because I think these are important things that we can start to do. And continue to review and again, set intentions, getting clear on the season of life you're in, getting clear on what that means to embrace it. And that will create a much easier feel for life because you're not going to be fighting against it. So with that said, wish you guys a great new year, and I will see you guys next year as we'll pick back up the show the first week of January. So with that said, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you guys next year. Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.